What's going on YouTube? This is Sean. I am back again, and in this video we are going to be working on the Wasp Helmet. I know some of you ladies out there are really looking forward to this. I did Ant-Man, so can't have one without the other. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I got all my templates drawn out, just the front half because I hadn't quite figured out the back half yet. This is what your side and your forehead should look like with that center nose piece and a chin skirt. And here's what the eyepiece is looking like. I'm gonna go ahead and cut the eyepieces out with a inward angle cut. That way, when I separate the pieces, the eyepiece will have this really cool looking bevel looking whatever. And notice that I did extend the edge of the outer line of this eyepiece because this is actually going to glue underneath the front and side pieces. But before I start to glue everything together, I wanted to go and make sure I put all my undercut lines on there, and I'm gonna fold the template where the line is so that way I can transfer the lines over. And since this one isn't a straight line, I went ahead and cut that out, and I'm going to transfer that one over as well. And once I get the underline or undercut lines drawn in there, I'm going to go ahead and do the same with the other side. Now I don't want these two pieces to be identical. They got to mirror each other, and I'm actually drawing on the inside of the pattern. And then I'm going to take my wood burner, and then I'm going to carefully burn in the lines. Now I normally use a spatula tip for this, but for this case I'm going to try to fuse this line together, and this tip actually works really good, which is like a angle tip, I guess. Now the nose piece was meant to be filled in with hot glue, which I eventually forgot to do. But if you're going to fill it in with hot glue, you should do it right now before you glue all the pieces together, which I failed to do. But as for the straight line, I'm going to fuse the foam together while the foam is still hot. And notice that I didn't have to use glue for this piece, which is a really cool trick. And here are the pieces for the top and the back of the helmet. And these are the pieces for the side. Notice I already drew my reference line, so where I'm going to glue the side pieces on, just like that. It's basically 1/4 of an inch in. And now I'm going to go and draw in some lines on the inside of the pattern, which I'm going to burn with a wood burner because I kind of want this piece right here to bevel in, and it's going to connect to the top and the back piece. And notice I'm using the tip of my finger, which is gliding on the edge of the foam, allowing me to draw straight lines. And then I'm going to take my wood burner, and then I'm going to carefully burn in those lines right there. And I decided not to fuse the foam together right here because it's going to get glued down to the side and back pieces. This will help me achieve that bevel looking ish edge, which is going to look something like that. And here are the ear discs, which I cut out in some 6mm EVA foam, and the ear Tana, which was cut out in some 8mm EVA foam. But you can actually use some floor mats. I don't see why not. It'll still look kind of cool. Now it's time to glue everything together. Now as for the forehead and the side pieces, I went and made that 2-piece. When I cut it out of foam, I was able to save on some foam. You can actually make it 1 piece if you like, but that's entirely up to you. And then I'm going to glue the center pieces together, starting with the forehead piece, and then I'm going to carefully align the nose piece together just like that. I did cut the center line of the nose piece right there in an inward angle cut. That way I can get a nice bevel edge. And here is the center mouthpiece, which was all cut in an inward angle around the outer line. And so was the lower of the side piece, which will marry to this chin skirt, and that was also cut in an inward angle. This will give it this curved-ish looking edge on the bottom of the helmet. And here's the eyepiece, which I'm going to fold in half and then carefully align up into the center of the nose piece and the forehead, just like that. And then I'm going to carefully align the inside line to the edge of the side and forehead piece. This part is a bit tricky because you're going to have to stretch and compress certain areas of the eyepiece to get it to marry well with the rest of the faceplate, and when you're done it should look something like this. And so far it's looking pretty legit. Now it's time to glue the side pieces to the front faceplate just like that. Once I get it all lined, then I'm going to press it all in together, and then I'm going to repeat the process over with the other side, and it's looking pretty groovy. Then I realized I forgot to apply glue to the top of the forehead, which is going to glue to the back top half of the helmet, which is this piece right here, which I'm about to assemble right now. I'm going to start by doing the two top pieces, aligning the center piece together, and then carefully placing the top piece right over the back half of that. And it's going to just overlap each other just like that. It's going to give this staggering effect. And then I'm going to glue the two back pieces together, which is the center, just like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to fold down the piece in half, carefully aligning the center, and then making sure that the pieces are glued on top of each other, making sure that I don't go over the reference line that I drew. And now that I got the back and the top piece fully assembled, it's time to marry the front and that back piece together. I'm going to carefully align the corners just like that, making sure that everything is lined up properly. And then I'm going to start on one side, and once I get that all lined up, then I'm going to commit by pressing all the pieces together, and then I'm going to do the other side before I do the center piece. That way I can evenly press the center down and make sure everything is nice and even. And right about now you should be noticing a really big gap between the top of the helmet to the forehead, which I'm going to carefully align the center and then press that in, and then do the corners and press that in, and then carefully go around and press the rest of it in just like that. And so far it's looking pretty groovy. Now right about now I realized I forgot to fill in the nose piece with hot glue, and I went and did it, and it didn't give me the result that I was really aiming for, but it was close enough. The reason why it's looking sort of deformed is because I had the eyepiece already glued on there, but learn from my mistake. Now I'm going to cut out the inner patterns off the side pieces, which actually has other inner patterns. I'm going to transfer the patterns over to some 4mm craft foam or EVA foam. You can actually use 5mm or you can use 3mm. It doesn't matter, whatever floats your boat. And then I'm going to cut the outer lines in an inward angle, but when I flip it over, it's going to give me this bevel edge, and this is going to be the outside pieces. Here I am transferring over the inner patterns, and I'm going to carefully burn in those lines with a wood burner. Not my prettiest job, but good enough for me. I mean, it's just cosplay, you know what I'm saying? And now I'm going to apply a thin coat of contact cement along the side of the face and hit the ears a little bit too. And once my contact cement is dried, I'm going to carefully attach the side accents just like that, and making sure everything is nice and symmetrical. Notice I did draw some reference lines there, so that way each side is perfectly even. And now I'm going to glue on these ear disc thingies. Now I did transfer over the circle lines, that way I'm gluing the ear disc perfectly even with the other side. And then I'm going to apply some contact cement there, so that way I can glue on the ear cannas. Now this part right here, you're going to want to make sure you get it even with the other side, because you know you don't want one antenna pointing left and the other one pointing wherever. That would look kind of weird. But I did put the registration marks on the template, that way you don't have to do any guessing and wondering if your ear cannas are pointing the same direction. I'm going to apply some heat to seal the foam, and then I'm taking my wood burner with a sharp tip and burning some holes, because breathing, I mean, that is kind of important. Now I'm going to take the helmet out to my shop and place it on this high-tech painting stand that I made. I didn't actually make it, I just found it laying around, and it fit perfectly with the helmet. And I'm going to put a couple coat of Plasti Dip, making sure that I get every bit of this helmet covered. Now when I started making foam helmets, I was using black foam, but whenever I go to seal it, it made it really hard to determine whether or not I got the proper coverage. So now I just start using brown, pink, and whatever color foam. And it also makes it easier to transfer patterns over, because you know, it's really hard to see a black line on a black foam. I'm just saying. After a few coat of plastic dip, everything is dry. Now it's time to spray on some gunmetal. The black base coat is perfect for spraying on gunmetal, and I actually went in there and I put on about 3 coats of gunmetal, and everything is looking pretty legit to me. I focused on the front plate and the forehead and the side. And then after all that was dried, I went in and used a paintbrush to paint on the black pieces, which is the I guess the eyepiece, the back of the helmet, and some areas on the side accents. I also went and painted the ear tannins black as well. Now I got me some colored gel packs. This is used for photography and party lighting, but I'm going to use this for my eyepieces. And luckily it has yellow in there, and it's the good kind of yellow, the kind of yellow you can actually see through without distorting your vision and giving you a headache. And you can pick this up at like Guitar Center, or maybe even look at Amazon. You know what, I'll list that on my store, so that way you guys don't have to go looking for it. But I cut it out in the shape of the eye pieces, and I'm going to use some hot glue and glue it on there. Now a lot of you guys on my Instagram and my Facebook did give me a lot of good suggestions on how to put on these eyepieces or the visor, but I wanted to keep things cheap and easy, and this is probably the cheapest and easiest way to go about it. So this is what the Wasp helmet is looking like so far. And if y'all want to see me build the rest of the costume, let me know in the comment section below. I mean, I was already going to make the full costume. I just wanted to know how many of y'all actually wanted to see it. And if you're into this kind of stuff, I mean, if you're really into it, then click on the link in the description down below, which will take you to the templates. And don't forget to swing by my Amazon shop for tools, materials, and supplies and stuff like that. Your purchases does help support this channel. I mean, that is if you want to keep seeing me build these cool stuff, and you know, like this video if you feel like you got something out of this video. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you haven't already subscribed, and follow me on all my social network. And I guess that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.